thank you for coming to this celebration and dedication here at 13th Street for tonight's dance in the district, and a first-time event that we hope to continue years into the future. I'm Doug, my wife Margaret. We're the MCs for the next just few minutes, and then we'll get to the good things like the burgers and the dance. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about how we got here, and a little bit of a history lesson. Starts out sort of dating back to 1994, when the school district was seriously looking at closing Franklin School and Glick School. And a compadre of mine around here, Jackie Mason, and several others were on our team to save Franklin School and keep it where it is today. Margaret was on the committee with me. I didn't have to draft her. I didn't want to waste a draft pick on her because I knew she'd be kind of by my side anyway. But in 1994, we ran a bond issue. We convinced the school board to go forward with a bond issue. We thought the community would go for it, build a school, keep this school in the west end of town. Hanson School had already been closed, and we felt we just knew how important it was to maintain neighborhoods, to have a neighborhood school. It just so happened that that bond issue set a record and passed by 82%. Never happened before in Marshalltown, maybe not in Iowa. So it gave us a pretty clear focus and vision that the folks in Marshalltown believe heavily in neighborhoods. You can't have neighborhoods, or you can't have a sense of community, at least I believe, without strong neighborhoods. And evidenced by the bond issue and Franklin School here, and we started to look at 13th Street District and thought, yeah, this was a great neighborhood years ago and has no reason why it can't be again. So from 1994, fast forward to 2007, and Marshalltown put forward an effort for big ideas. What can we do to enhance this community here? We whittled from, I think, 200 or 300 submissions down to 7, what we called 7 big ideas for Marshalltown, and revitalization and renovation to the 13th Street District was one of those 7. Can you hear me? Do I need to hold this? Okay. 2007, we had the 7 big ideas. 13th Street District was one of them. 2011, we started actively moving on this district. Am I going too slow? Need to go quicker? Okay. 2011, in December, we had a miracle on 13th. Bonnie, you were leadership on that, and that was what really kicked off the movement to revitalize, renovate the 13th Street District. It was kind of the time to share that we have a dream for this neighborhood. 2012, 13th Street District Committee was formed. And quickly on that, it was after my tenure with Medic. And seriously, I was driving home one day, I just live up there about 5 blocks from here, and thinking that the city had done all of their concrete renovation. They had put in the culverts, the block culverts, and now here it sat. And if we didn't do something in a year or two, this would be mainly a weed bed. And we've got the infrastructure here. I thought we needed to kind of move, either move or not. And I was still driving around. I thought, okay, who can I contact to be a co-chair to just help with this? Jackie Mason's name came to mind because she was such a strong and vital person with our Franklin School effort in 1994. I called Jackie. It took us less than 3 or 4 days to pull together a committee of 10 folks that then went on to kind of culminate in this. 2012, the committee was formed. 2013, only 2 years ago and 2 days from today, we held down here the Scrambler in the district. It was a Saturday morning breakfast on the streets of 13th Street. A year later, 2014, we did a dance to the beat for 13th Street. It was a Dancing with the Stars theme event as a money raiser and fundraiser. And it really blew the top off how much interest there was in this community to continue the work down here. 2015, today. Yeah, this is a culmination of 3 years of really hard work. When we got our committee together, and all the committee members, those in the green shirts, will attest, we met every other Monday for 30 months. We took off 2 months between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but that's every other Monday for many, many months. Okay, so enough of the history. Why? And why are we doing it here? And I can tell you that I'm not doing it and have not done it for sentimentality or for sentimental reasons. Margaret will tell you I don't have that chip in my body. I'm not a sentimentalist, not at all. I am kind of a businessman, even though I guess I have 2 college degrees and not 1 business course to my name. But this just seemed like the perfect place to do neighborhood, community revitalization. I mean, where do you find the assets in Marshalltown or practically any other community in Iowa that have the assets that we have right here and should be taken advantage of? Take this off. Thank you.
You make us feel better.
All right, so every community needs to capture what sustainable growth and development they can. This being the perfect neighborhood for that to happen. You look around, look at the tremendous assets here to leverage for further development, investment, and growth. A gateway to the vet's home. Vintage buildings just waiting to be repurposed. A lush park behind me. Playground, tennis courts, a baseball diamond, a quarter-mile track, a football field. Franklin Elementary School, Miller Middle School, all within walking distance of this district. What could be a better place? What is more of a developer's dream than right here? We just need to up the people count, and it looks like we're doing that right now. Okay, so why do we do it? Kind of just explained that. This is the perfect place to leverage the assets we have here for further development. That's infrastructure. What I also see here is activities, both learning, recreational for the youth and the middle-aged and the senior citizens, right here with all that we have back behind us. And before I begin to close, at least for a minute, I want to take and do a couple thank yous. I want to thank the city. I want to thank Randy, Bubba, Justin, Michelle. Those people have been fantastic to work with. City folks were up painting the stoplights at the corner of 13th and Main just 2 days ago at our request to paint them all black. We were able to get the final pad on the Echo for just Monday. City has been just unbelievably fantastic on that. Yay. And lastly, I want to thank the new and current investors to the community or to the district right here. And I'll start with Dr. John Hermanson, Jay Thomas, Interior Design, Craig and Cynthia Ragland, the old Seaburg building, Embellish right behind you, Funky Zebra going into Embellish. That's 5 new tenants to the 13th Street District in the last year. That's tremendous growth, tremendous. Okay, at this time I'm going to turn the mic over to Margaret, who will kind of take you from there.
Okay, well, I am full of sentimentality, and maybe that's why we can get along, so we're not always just crying all the time. But I have such vivid memories of the street. Doug and I both grew up in walking distance from 13th Street. And I remember in the 60s, I would say to my mom, I'm headed down to 13th. And I would meet my friends, and we would play tennis, and we would have a pop, and we would have a treat, and then we would just enjoy the calm, welcoming atmosphere of the district. And in those fond memories, I particularly recall the friendly Kurt's Royal Blue grocery store. And the person who was the operator and owner of Kurt's was the wonderful Kurt Loney. And today, we are so fortunate to have Kurt's wife, Joanne, with us. Where is Joanne? There's Joanne. Thanks. Kurt and Joanne were married for 64 years, and they shared their love of family and community to their 2 children, Terry and Steve, and then on to their 5 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren. Kurt was a huge, huge supporter of Marshalltown. He served on the school board for 15 years, and he served on the YMCA board. He served on, so many things, the JCs and the chamber and the beautification committee and the revitalization, the 13th Street Revitalization Committee was a huge, so important to him. And that's kind of why we're here today. Because in memory of this wonderful, wonderful man who was a perfect citizen, a great husband and grandfather and great-grandfather, we are celebrating him today. And in honor of him, the family has gifted us with the benches for the district. And the current committee, we took a lot of time and a lot of diligence in picking out benches. We wanted to get just the right design to go with the total atmosphere of the district. And in that time, we thought, wouldn't it be perfect if we could honor Kurt with a royal blue bench? And on that bench, we've placed a memorial. And that plaque reads, Curtis T. Loney Jr., born 1925, deceased 2012. The benches located in the 13th Street District honor Kurt Loney, a businessman and owner of Kurt's Royal Blue grocery store on 13th Street in the 1950s through the 70s. Kurt, born in Marshall County, was a World War II veteran, dedicated family man, and community leader. He was an avid supporter of the revitalization of the 13th Street District. A quote, "Let's work together to make Marshalltown a leader in the great state of Iowa." And that was taken from Kurt's last letter to the editor to the Times-Republican in June of 2012.
Just going to make one comment about my experience with Kurt. I knew Kurt from when I was about 8 years old. I probably knew Kurt for 55 years. And there were 2 things that I think I learned from him, and just reflecting lately. Whoever knew Kurt here, I'm sure, heard the phrase, "Good morning, young man. How are you, young man?" I've heard that phrase, young man, but I think it only came from Kurt. And I could have been 8 years old or 55. Kurt would have come in the scrapyard, and he did. And it would be, "How are you, young man? Good morning, young man." The other thing I learned, how to look a guy in the eye, because Kurt gave you a very straight look. It was right in your eye, and optimism. Kurt, whenever I would engage Kurt, it was just always an optimistic viewpoint. The glass was always greater than half full. And honestly, that wore off on me, because I know Kurt. He had a lot of experience, and through what he had been through, his optimism was really evident in that man.
One thing I did want to mention, when Doug was going through the different age brackets that this can be so suitable for, it's the first time I've heard him refer to himself as a senior citizen. So, with that, I'd like to introduce the granddaughter of Joanne and Kurt, and that's Jennifer Goodell.
Good evening. Can you hear me? My name is Jennifer Goodell. I am the eldest grandchild of Kurt and Joanne. You're gonna hear some repetition, I think, but my granddad's relationship with this neighborhood was a long one, and one that he valued very, very much. He was a veteran of World War II, and upon returning, he purchased the store that would become Kurt's Royal Blue. They had 2 children here on 13th Street, and began raising them in the apartment above the store. At that time, this neighborhood was popping, and Kurt's was right in the middle of it. You had soldiers, veterans from the soldiers' home coming down to socialize. You had nuns from St. Mary's Catholic Hospital coming down to maybe do some shopping at Seaburg's. 13th Street Inn drew in a big crowd, especially on Saturdays. Franklin Field was home of the Bobcat football games, and you could hear "Go Bobcat Go" kind of echoing through the streets when it would make their way, the band would make their way down from the practice field. So there was a lot going on. As was mentioned earlier, Kurt's had a reputation for exceptional customer service. Every customer was expected to be greeted by name when they entered the store. They offered home delivery, which, Hy-Vee, hate to tell you, but Kurt's was a little bit ahead of you on this one. They had a van that would go out every day and make deliveries, and that van was usually driven by a high school kid who wanted to impress Kurt with how quickly he could get out on his route, deliver his groceries, and make it back to the store. As a customer, if you were not going to be home when your delivery came in, that's okay. Leave the door open. They would come in, put the groceries away for you. So if there's anybody here from Hy-Vee, you can add that to the delivery service option. That'd be great. Even as recent as his funeral, we had people come up to us who had worked for him as a teenager, saying that he was the toughest boss they had ever had, but they learned so much, and they were grateful for the work ethic and all the experience that they had gained. After the store my granddad went on to pursue the next stage of his working life, which, if you know him, he had several stages of working lives. He and my grand continued to own rental properties in the neighborhood. So they were always in tune and in touch with this neighborhood. He was a trusted community leader, and he would go out of his way to try and build this town up. He would write letters and make calls to corporate offices of restaurants and stores, telling them all about Marshalltown and encouraging them to come in, put a location, invest in the community, and he would be thrilled with all the excitement here with Dunkin' Donuts and Hobby Lobby and all the other things that have been happening. He would love that. I know that this project has been a lot of work, so thank you so much to the committee, volunteers, donors, anyone who gave of their time, their effort, their money, their ideas. Thank you so much, and it's turned out beautifully. So on behalf of my granddad and my family, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to make him a permanent part of this neighborhood, and we look forward to many more families and businesses thriving in this district for years to come. Thank you.
Margaret corrected me, as she always does, that I had eliminated one of the monumental components to this revitalization, and that began in 2011 with the Franklin Field Gateway Project, where the ticket booths were rebuilt and all new fencing was put in from the corner of 13th and Main all the way down to past Franklin Field. So that was also another effort, I think, kicked off by Jane Bauer and completed. And again, Marshalltown is amazing. When you ask the folks to open up their pocketbooks or their time, they just step right up. At this time, I'd like to introduce Heidi. Heidi, there you are, okay, as past president of the Marshalltown Public Art Committee, to give you a little history of this beautiful gem.
Thanks, Doug. Can everybody hear me okay? As Doug mentioned, my name is Heidi Pearson. I am the past chair for the Marshalltown Public Art Committee. Marshalltown Public Art Committee is a new committee. It was formed in May of 2013. The Public Art Committee is a division of the Marshall County Arts and Culture Alliance. I'm hoping that many of you are very familiar with that wonderful nonprofit that we have here in Marshalltown that's supporting all things arts and culture. What do you think of this? Does anybody know what it is? Hopefully you're not expecting me to tell you what it is, because I am not going to do that. This is Echo. Echo is a 34-foot stainless steel sculpture by the artist Bruce White. It's the first public art project by the Marshalltown Public Art Committee. The Public Art Committee's purpose is to have publicly accessible art, art that's publicly accessible in spaces here in Marshalltown. So for our first project, we were really excited to partner with the 13th Street District Committee, and congratulations to all of you for all of the work that you've done. John Hermanson, where's Dr. John Hermanson? I have to tell you, if you don't know John, please make sure that you do that tonight. You want to talk about somebody that is community-minded and cares about neighborhoods here in Marshalltown, he's your guy. John, yes, round of applause for John. John is the current chair for the Public Art Committee and is also very involved, obviously, with the 13th Street District. When MPAC was forming and trying to decide what our first project should be, where it should be here in Marshalltown, we got a call from John, who asked, you know, is there a possibility to work with the 13th Street District Committee? Could that be a good location? And so here we are in what we refer to as the plaza space. For those of you that remember, this was a parking lot and there wasn't any green space here. So we've got this great green space. I think the initial plan for that was a splash pad, some sort of water feature. Quickly was learned that with costs and safety of some other things, that probably wasn't the best plan. And so we talked about what could potentially be down here, and that's when this idea of public art really came as a discussion between these two committees. So both the Marshalltown Public Art Committee, or MPAC, as we refer to it, and the 13th Street District Committee. 2 years later, we've got Echo. If you'd like to know more about the Public Art Committee or the process for this particular project, I'd invite you to visit the empty space between John Hermanson's new orthodontic practice and the 13th Street Inn. There's a PowerPoint that sort of goes along with the installation that happened about 2 weeks ago here on 13th Street with Echo. We've had a lot of really great partners, that includes the city as well. But I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the funding partners that we've had. The Martha Ellen Ty Foundation, the Community Foundation of Marshall County, the 13th Street District Committee, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and through the Department of Cultural Affairs Iowa Great Places program, this project was funded by grants. That's a pretty big deal. This was a big project in every sense of the word for the Public Art Committee and 13th Street, and so we were really proud that we were able to raise all of the funds for this project through those grants. For those of you that don't know, I'm also really happy to share that Marshalltown, just last year in 2014, was named an Iowa Great Places community. This is a great designation for our community. We were one of 3 that were funded out of several that had applied. And what they were so excited about for us here in Marshalltown went back to our community visioning plan. Doug and Margaret talked a little bit before about Imagine, 7 big ideas by 2011. Over 3,000 ideas actually had been submitted for that, and that's how we got to Target on Beautification and here on 13th Street. That visioning plan is what the Department of Cultural Affairs, through this program, Iowa Great Places, was so interested in. They were really responding to our community taking this grassroots effort to define what we wanted to make our community better. And they really liked the fact that we were working together. So committees like 13th Street, working with the city, and also public art. And so part of that designation also included funding for some big projects. The first of which was here on 13th Street. The second includes work that's going to be done on the MHS Roundhouse. So back to Echo. If you see it later, if you haven't been down here, these 2 lights at the top, they are lit. It's sort of what you want it to mean to you. I want to share with you just a brief part of the artist's statement about this particular piece. Bruce White, the artist, says, "If I could say it, write it, or sing it, there would be no need to build it." So if I could write it, say it, or sing it, there would be no need to build it. So he has built it. It's here in Marshalltown. We couldn't be more excited. It was gifted to the city of Marshalltown on May 29th. And so we're really happy that all of you are here tonight for this great new venue that's been created here on 13th Street with Echo as the backdrop. Thank you.
So the city invested over $3 million in this area, and that included the streets and the sewer and the sidewalks and the parking lot and lights and utility design. They have just been wonderful in our efforts, as Doug also referred to. And they've been resourceful and just great partner. And at this time, I would like to introduce a very respected and active member of our community, and that is the Mayor Pro Tem, Bethany Weirin.
It looks like a lot of notes, but don't worry. Most of this has been said by other people. I just wanted to be prepared. Excuse me. So I was here when it was dedicated, when Echo was dedicated to the city a couple of weeks ago. And it was just a really great celebration, very exciting for the official unveiling. And the artist did talk a little bit about what he thought of, but since Heidi didn't go into it, and she's an artist, to me, she's an artist, I'm not, so I'm not gonna go into it either. But I will say that his idea came from something natural, meaning something that he saw, a scientific thing, let's call it, that he saw in nature happening. And so I guess I have viewed this as inspiring, for me anyway, as a reminder to see the beauty that we have all around us all the time. The smell of rain, or the change in seasons, or just anything that you can think of that is natural beauty. We might pay a little bit more attention to that because of Echo. And so it's a great time to celebrate tonight. I'm going to look through the thank yous that Mayor Lawrence gave me just to make sure that everybody's been covered. MEDIC also, the Marshall County, Marshall Economic Development Impact Committee also participated, awarded a grant to assist with the new lighting of the street and purchase of the trees, among other things. And I know that Tom Dimerly and Randy Wetmore, Tom Dimerly is the MEDIC director, they both came out and watered the newly planted trees every evening throughout last summer. There are so many volunteers, so many of the volunteers are out here before me, and I just want to say thank you to all of you. And if I did miss anyone, go ahead and call the mayor and leave a message. He'd be happy to take your call. So whether you've just been cheering this project on, or you've given financially, or you've given volunteer hours, the City of Marshalltown would like to say thank you to all of you wonderful people.
Thank you for staying. You've been very patient, and we're ready to conclude. Again, I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody that's participated. And as I said earlier, yes, this is a culmination of a lot of work and investment, but it is definitely not the conclusion of what's going to happen down here at the district. But for right now, I'm going to sign off. Thank you, and tonight we're going to have a dance in the district, so enjoy yourself. Good night.